I'm so excited because one, I'm like nowhere a physicist or a quantum computing professional. I'm more into
Okay.
community building. And we are building a blockchain product which is on Hyperledger Fabric. And so I kind of dabble with Fabric to some extent, but then just to understand how we can implement it, right? Because if you really want to get anything done, division of labor is one of the most underrated skills in the world, right? Tell
Yeah.
one college that talks about division of labor or teaches how to do division of labor, right? There's nothing, because division of labor, if someone has to teach it, it doesn't really happen unless you implement something. Then you know exactly each of those steps. Then you find people who are better than you or who has done those specific pieces, specialists. And if you're able to put a team like that together, then exponentially you can implement anything faster, right? That's pretty simple to understand. Now, so that's one of the reasons that it's important that you implement one thing at least like once end to end. Then division of labor becomes easier, right? So I learned one thing to that extent. That's where I stop. And yeah, because I'm building communities and I have to like look at things from a systems perspective, not specialize in one thing. And I know that's my boundary, but everyone has different styles, right? So that's why I'm excited, because when you put then such a team of specialists, how people who want to specialize together, then it's very exciting to see how this output is going to turn out and how fast we can do it, right? And we have done multiple experiments to test this. Whatever we are going to set right now as process, we have tested that multiple times, right? So last year, around September, October times, we started the first apprenticeship around the whole vision that we have to create a community. And the way we define community is, if you have watched the video, the community launch video that we had put up in the email that we sent, two links, right? So one was a brief of what we have done till now, and the other was around what we mean by communities and how we are building this, right? It's important to understand that, because then we have a common set of vocabulary to talk about, right? So when we say learning circle, everyone will understand what's the outcome or why in the larger picture where it fits in, right? So let me quickly talk about that. Right. And then we'll get into intros, okay? This is context setting. All right, here we are. All right, so think of any community as an economic model or an economic entity itself, okay? So what I mean by that is the world runs on two different things, which is state and the market. State is nothing but government, be it Indian government or US government, whatever, right? Which sets policies which make sure that the larger society is taken care of, okay? And the other side is the market. So if you look at economic principles perspective, people like Milton Friedman, these kind of people always propose free markets, which means the market shouldn't have any regulation, leave them alone and whatnot. And we all know what happened in 2008, financial crisis. This all precisely happens because of lack of oversight or overlook from the government side, which means the government should also understand what's happening on the market side, right? But because the divide is so big, who's left behind? It's the community that's left behind. So what is a community? Raghuram Rajan, the ex-RBI governor, has written a book called The Third Pillar. And the third pillar's, the subtitle or the one-word explanation of that is how the state and the market leaves the communities behind, okay? So then we started exploring what a community is from that lens of looking at what is this balancing fact, right? That's why he called it the third pillar. If state is one pillar, market is the other pillar, community is supposed to be the third pillar, and which is made of people like us, right? Even now, if you look at what's happening with the way we are managing this whole pandemic, it's just finger pointing. One side we are raising money, and the other side there's no distribution and whatnot, right? Not getting technical at all. I'm not political at all. I'm just being looking at it from an economic lens, right? So we are left behind, which is people are left behind. So the way to solve that is to make sure that the community is given enough power in the future. And if you look at from the economic lens again, if state and market is this, and if you have to look at community as a third pillar, then it should act like a microcosm of an economy itself, right? So from here on, it's going to be a hypothesis. This is our research, okay? So we are looking at, so what do we mean by microcosm of an economy, which means both state and the market should be built within the community itself. So what's the role of a state? It's to produce productive labor, which means providing education. About everything that the government is doing, the major job is to take care of us as people and upskill us so that we become a productive member of the society, which the market can go and leverage, right? So think about it. So in 70s, 80s, we started engineering colleges. So around 90s, we had so many engineers coming out of engineering schools. And what did we do? We went and created TCS, Infosys kind of IT-enabled services, right? So the state government created IITs, ISCs, and engineering colleges. The market created or leveraged the skills that the state has created, okay? So if we have to say that a community has to become this microcosm, which means both state and market, we should think about how are we gonna create skilled labor, and how are we gonna make sure that the skilled labor is put to work, or they get what the monetary benefits of the effort that they have put in the upskilling process, okay? So now, Fiski, we take in unskilled people. So unlike a college, a community is different because we cannot put an age bar, right? A college always takes in people at the same age level or same skill level. So we can't do that as a community. So we take in, when I say we, I'm still like hypothesizing, right? Like this is all still under research. Even what we are doing now is part of that research, right? So we take in people who are skilled at different levels, maybe at like 0 level, skill level 5, whatever. And we also take in people who are semi-skilled, right? And how are we learning as a community? So we learn through either a structured format, which is what we do, the QCA fellowship and workshop. These are all structured format. The other format, which the internet has given us the opportunity to do, is explore personalized learning paths, right? Which is what we call these learning circles as, right? So you learn through an unstructured way because we are trying to create our own learning paths, right? So for Abir, Archit, and Nilay came forward and they said, hey, we have to create this learning circle, and now we are here. And QML learning circle is already happening, and it's less oversight, or it's not a structured thing at all. The learning circle decides, which is what one of our next week agenda is, to come out with a learning path for the next 1 month. Okay, as a team, we have to decide what we are going to learn and why it makes sense, keeping in mind the outcome that we are looking at, right? Which could be a paper or a small POC. Okay. Now, so while we are learning like this, the community's other job is also to create jobs and gigs for the skills that are being upskilled within the community, right? So which is where now, when we finish fellowship, we are placing our fellows inside different startups, be it as an apprentice or a full-time job, or sometimes like 3 month, 6 month contract and whatnot, right? So unless we do this, this cannot sustain, right? So why is this important? Now, you think from a labor market frictions perspective, because the divide is so small, right? Think about it. Let's say some company startup like Boson QSci wants to hire someone who is good at multiphysics and quantum computing. Where will they go and find this kind of a resource right now in the market, right? Unless the government decides this market grows so big, then they will go and change their curriculum to teach these subjects. And then they have to come out with a course structure, get it approved, blah, blah, blah. By the time the structure comes into a college, it's like 2-3 years over. You know what I mean? That's the friction. When we go far from the divide between the state and the market is so big, frictions becomes in years. Whereas within a community, we don't have to worry about it, right? Boson QSci came to us. We conducted a hackathon. In 1 month's time, they were able to find someone. So the frictions reduce when you do it at this level, right? So the ownership should be at the community level to make sure that the skill that the community is professing is leveraged on the market side and given back into the community as apprenticeships and gigs. Okay, so this is the context. So the learning circle is one way of learning, which is a more personalized way of arriving at an output or a convergent thinking, right? Basically, the goal should be, right now we have all learned from multiple places, right? We would have done QCA fellowship, or we would have done some Quizkit by Quizkit, or whatever Quizkit is conducting, right? Qubit by Qubit. But that's divergent, right? We are learning multiple things. Now we are trying to arrive at a convergent way so that we can work as a team together and arrive at an output. And so when I said we have done this earlier, so Nilay and Archid, they joined us as the first set of apprenticeship, and they are still here, right? And we are working on quantum cryptography related projects, and that's kind of the same process that we'll be following here as well, which is going and reading multiple research papers, coming and teaching each other, right? So out of that emerges as a use case. Okay, that's the ideal vision. And use case emerges, and then for that use case, if we can raise money, and then that team that worked on that continues doing that. So then QCI essentially becomes like an incubator of sorts, right? But it's very like bottom-up approach rather than, oh, I have $1 million and then now I'm gonna become an incubator. Whoever has an idea, come pitch your idea to me and do that, right? Because it's so frontier tech right now, it's very difficult to go into that mode. We have to go like bottom up. And this is a more sustainable way also, right? Because we get to know each other's working style, we get to know each other's work ethic, everything will come into play. You will see if there are 8 to 10 people over here right now, I can give it in writing in like 2-3 weeks time, this is gonna reduce by half. Right? Where not everyone can commit to something. And also given the fact that 100 other things are happening outside, right? Someone would fall sick, someone has to take care of their pay. So it's a lot of things that's not in our control is also happening right now, right? So we should be okay with that as well. That's also one of the tenacity that kind of community has to have to make sure to have leeway for these kind of things. But that's why those learnings, which is that, hey, it's reducing. So one way to do that is to have this process of taking in the people who are really interested in doing something and in a diligent way, right? So that's why we conducted this whole process of first Nilay, Abir and Achit went and learned metal. They're still learning, but they went and learned so that they know what's the kind of people that we want to come into this learning circle, right? Earlier, we used to kind of open it up to everyone. If you have seen within QCI, we say, hey, everyone join the learning circle. Now, then we saw this dip happening. That's because internally people are not motivated. So we needed people who are internally motivated that they want to pursue this, right? So that's why we did this thing of, okay, we learned first to some extent, and then we conducted this interview. We had spent close to 12 hours interviewing all of you, and then like rejecting few of them, like we said, looking at these things. And so we are assuming that now the drop-off rate will be less. Okay, one way to test it out. That's all. We'll see. But the point is, the context in which that we are meeting is very important, right? It's to we are all in different places, and we are trying to arrive at some kind of a convergent point, which could be either a research paper or it could be a POC that we all agree upon and we start building. And the community is here to support you guys in whatever way possible. So yeah, so that's the context. Now, quick 30 seconds to 1 minute if we can address any questions that we have at this point. Otherwise, we'll go into getting to know each other in a little different way. Any questions, guys?
Hey, sorry, Sam. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good, the planning wise, how the learning circle works and your explanation, I understand. So I think one thing I noticed for last at least 5 weeks or 6 weeks with the QCI fellowship and the learning process, yeah, it's just a vast area. as you mentioned that we just narrow down to a specific area with a research paper. So I think it's the right approach. And the industry also, as you mentioned, it's growing, and the lot of opportunities coming. So this is the right time. We focus on one thing as the hardware and the multiple areas, do the research and pick one of the area, and the team members can learn from each other. So that's where we can collaborate. Definitely, I agree with your point. So we will definitely learn a lot. So
nice.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, and so this is what I'm talking about, right? Like we have so much experience, like we can give us use cases that we wouldn't even think about, right? Because of his experience. And this is what a community can give us, right? Like it cannot happen within a master's degree.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Puvi. And Puvi will also be guiding us in whatever aspects that we need him, right? And he is right now based out of New York, or where, Puvi?
Yes, Sam, I'm actually located in New York State, capital of New York, Albany town. So currently I'm involved with the assignment here. I'm an infrastructure, I could say, IT architect. So that's a role. But quantum, I was just, I mean, I can introduce myself.
Yeah, in a bit.
Like, I'll wait. Yeah.
Lovely. Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? Ram, Rupesh, Sandeepan, Keshav, Akash, Siddharth, good to see you here also. Akash, another Akash. Sarkar and Kumar. Cool. So if there are no questions, then we'll start with the next aspect. So next aspect is introduction, but in a different way, I said. So how is it going to be different? We'll be playing a game called Authentic Relating Games. Okay. Now we'll all go into breakout rooms. I'll give a prompt. So the prompt is very simple. Two things we'll do. One is the Google game first, and the next one is 4 different prompts. So first Google game is, if I Google Ram and food, what will Ram say? So think of it like this, right? So you're going to Google, you're searching for something. And if you double click onto that, then you can go deeper into the topic. Okay, so right now I just searched Ram and food, right? Now these are some things that you won't find about Ram on his LinkedIn profile or on his Twitter feed, right? Mostly, assuming. Okay. All right. Ram, answer. Quick answer.
So it's a Ram and food, right?
Food, yeah.
We'll say it's chats, North Indian dishes. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Cool. So that's it. So this is a simple Google game. So right now I started at a very superficial level, which is food. Okay, but you can go if you want to make it a little more fun. You can always ask things like Nilay and success, or Nilay and failure, Nilay and cry. When was the last time? Nilay and tears. You know, like it can become really intense. I know. As a techie, if I'm sitting there, I would be thinking, man, why are we doing all these things? You know, just tell me what platforms we'll be learning. Just tell me that, right? But like I said, like we are creating multiple communities, and one of those communities is called Stop Being Boring. And we do these things for corporate companies, okay? And they pay us in lakhs to do these kind of games because they get so much involved in work. People miss this relationship, right? Like authentic relating in a digital space. How can that happen? Now that the world is all going completely remote, how can I still connect with people with whom I'm going to work with? And that's very important, right? Because at a logical level, it's easy to connect with a person. But like more deeper and deeper you go, if you connect at a more foundational level, then it's easy to build on top of it, right? So that's why we are doing this. So give me some time, you'll understand the power of these games, okay? because next time when you come in, you won't look at Ram as a person, and his name. You will remember a story, and that's more important. Okay, and then everything else can happen automatically. You can learn something, you can build something, all those things. Okay, so next 5-10 minutes, just don't overthink it. Just be present, right? Meditation, basic principle. Just be present and play this game, right? Try to understand people who are on this call, right? Because there's a reason why we're all here. And if we are going to spend more time with these people, it's important that we understand these people better. Okay. So with that, we are going to play this Google game because it could become a little awkward in the main room. I'm going to put in groups of 3, and each of you get 1 minute to ask the other person. Okay. And like the UX of the user experience of a Google page, you can always double click, right? When she says North Indian, and I can say double click. And then Ram will say one level deeper about it, like specifically in North Indian, what type of food she likes. Okay. Got it? Okay. So very simple. So you say, if I Google the name and XYZ, XYZ can be superficial, something a little more personal, whatever you feel like, and be authentic over there. That's all. Okay. I'm going to put in groups of 3. Let's see. Okay, guys, 1 minute each. Okay. So if it's 3, then by 9 o'clock, you'll all come back to the main group. Okay. Guys, how was it? 1 word feedback.
Amazing.
Amazing.
It's amazing, yeah.
It was pretty good.
It was sweet. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, I'm asking everyone 1 word feedback. Guys, Abir, Sandeepan.
Yeah, it was good. Sandeepan loves his beard. So, yeah.
Where's the beard though? I don't see it.
Yeah, beards are cool. Like,
And,
why can't I just take?
Yeah.
And Akash likes biryani. So
Lovely.
Akash
Yeah,
Sarkar.
especially chicken biryani.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. One
It's
more
excellent.
5-minute game. Another prompt though, not Google game. This time it's prompt I'll give. Okay. It's 2 prompts. One is one of my favorite childhood memories is, and the other thing is one thing I can't wait for. And this time it'll be a 2-member thing. Okay. Put it.
2D.
Huh? 2D. Huh. Think about it. Take your time. And we are not gonna know who we are gonna get this time. Again, I'm gonna shuffle. All right. In some groups, it could be 3 people. So, okay, continue. Nice. Nice.
So Sam, what is one thing that you can't wait for?
What's something I can't wait for?
That's a really good question.
Let everyone come back and say, okay.
Yeah.
Guys, okay, so this is only fair that I also answer these things. So Rupesh just asked me what's one thing that I can't wait for is all our communities to first reach $1 million mark. And
this thing came to my mind. I'm like, Sam's gonna say something like all the communities should be well established. That's something which I see.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, you are on the target.
Right. I mean, we are in the right direction. It's just a matter of how fast we can get there. Are we gonna get there in a year or like 2 years?
Yeah, I agree.
We never know.
Okay.
We never know.
One of the childhood memories which you
one of my childhood
remember every
memories.
time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a I don't know if it's a favorite one, but like most impactful one is so my brother, so we were brought up in a tier 3 city called Tirunelveli and not in a very well-to-do family, like lower middle class. So we used to have this cameras made out of clay. Okay, my brothers used to make these cameras made out of clay and I used to fucking love them. And this was the time we were expanding our house from this one room where 6 of us were living, 4 siblings, 3 siblings, including me, 4 kids for my parents. And we were expanding that one room into like another room. So there were like 3, the parapet walls on one side was broken so that they can expand. Okay, so 3 sides had parapet walls. So I was sitting on my sister's lap and I was playing with this cam. Okay, and I was like a toddler, like not even someone who can talk. So I was a toddler and I was just sitting on my sister's lap and I was playing with this cam. And at some point the cam just fell. So I just like kicked my sister's lap and I fucking bounced out, caught the cam and fell. My sister was yelling and I can hear that, even now. But I fell on like a heap of sand because construction was happening. And the heap of sand was like very close to the place where I fell from. So like nothing actually happened. And I caught the camera. that's the biggest thing. Camera was safe. I was safe. Everything. But like, just to make it more dramatic, my sister always says, but like, on this side, there was this, the stones that we used to make all these things. So the stones were on one side and the other side, we had the centering plates, which is like the wood with nails on it, just to hold the concrete together. They used to put these wooden structures. So that was on the other side. So if I had fallen either this side or the other side, I would have died, but I didn't. Yeah, but that's the childhood memory that comes to me right now. Okay, so I hope you guys like this because this is a better way to get to know a person. Now we'll do the usual things, okay, who am I, where I come from, what do I do quickly, so that we know what's the strength of this learning circle, right? Because we are only as strong as the people in this room. It's as simple as that. Okay, cool. So with that, we'll start alphabetically or, okay, you guys only choose. Nilay, Abir first and then everyone else.
Okay, so, okay, you go ahead, Nilay. It's okay.
Okay, no, Abir, A comes first. You go.
Okay, so hello everyone. I think you all might have already met me in the interview. So I'm actually a final year student from RV College of Engineering, and I am currently pursuing computer science. Talking about my interest in quantum, it actually started with quantum cryptography, but then eventually it grew deeper, and now I am mostly interested in quantum hardware. That's why the learning circle. And I'm from Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. You guys can ask me if you want something.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's the right amount of time to take. Lovely. Nilay. Thanks, Abir. Yeah.
So hello everyone. This is Nilay. So when I'm a final year undergrad in electronics and communication, and a minor degree in embedded systems and design from Amity University, Mumbai. So, okay, my native is from Kanpur, UP, but I've often lived in Bangalore and I'm shifting back to Bangalore. So that's something is good. Yeah, and in research, interest in quantum, from childhood, I was always the hardware guy and still a hardware guy. So hence in hardware circle. Yeah.
Nice. Lovely. And Nilay is also part of quantum cryptography team, and he has also worked with Boson QSci for some time. Yeah. Cool. Next, I'll call out Puvi. Then Puvi, Rupesh.
Hey, hello everybody. This is Puvi. My full name is Puvi Rastu Dakshinamurthy. Actually, originally I'm from southern part of India, Tamil Nadu, and I live in New York, USA for last 21 years. And I'm originally from the background of physics and laser and optoelectronics area. Then I was in a switch to IT in 99, 21 years before. So basically what happened was after that completely I was out of the subject physics or quantum physics, quantum mechanics. But recently, last 6 months to a year before, I was recently interested in learning and find out QCA's fellowship and started conversing with Sam, KG and all. So that's where I was started back to learning mode. So it was very nice to see you all and interested in a couple of areas. Definitely quantum hardware is interesting area, but I will be more of focused on initial learning and also helping others to get into the not only quantum area, the other areas of interest too. So definitely I'd like to collaborate with you all and enjoy the time spent, whether it's a couple of hours in a week or doesn't matter. So, and also like to see you all soon once the COVID is over. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Puvi. Yeah.
Thank you.
Puvi will also be facilitating our future fellowships. Yeah.
Yes, I think I started probably next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Puvi. Rupesh.
Hey guys, this is Rupesh. I am originally from Tamil Nadu. Tanjavur is my native place, but I live in Hyderabad. I've been here for about the past 12 years now, and I'm doing my master's in physics here from University of Hyderabad. So I have until my BSc, which was also in the same, it's an integrated master's course. So until my BSc, I've been working on lots of different optics related research areas, beam optics, structural beams, etc. But quantum computing is about a year old for me. Started with the lockdown with the summer school, but yeah, and ever since I've been going on. So I'm an experimentalist, so I've been trying to learn a lot of the hardware end of things, and I was really fascinated when I came across the idea that you can do information processing using fundamental things like fundamental particles and atoms and stuff like that. I've been, yeah, that's the reason I'm here, and it's probably the track I'd most want to be taking for my PhD after my master's as well.
Nice, very nice. Thank you, Rupesh. All right, Ram, then Siddharth, then Sandeepan.
Yeah, hello guys. I'm Ram. I'm from Chennai. I just completed my BE in ECE at SSN. So I'm 2019 passed out, and after that I worked for 1 year at TCS, and then about to pursue my master's now. So I'm always interested in hardware related stuff. So I started with quantum dots during my second year of college research work, and after that we published that in a conference. And after that I came into that. I mean, got into that Qiskit summer school, and after that, qubit by qubit, and now here I am. So, want to know more about quantum hardware. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Ram. All right. That.
Hi everyone, I'm Siddharth Golechna and I'm from Jaipur. And I'm studying, information technology from MBM Engineering College, Jodhpur, and I'm in the third year of it. And to get my experience in QC, I have been doing it for almost an year. And I started out with the hackathon, the fourth year hackathon conducted by Qiskit, and I started out reading the textbook and all, and I just jumped right into it. Though I could not solve, I could only solve one question of it, but it sounded really fun. So from that I built into it, and I've been working on machine learning at that time as well, like most of the autonomous vehicle things. But I've built that into it, and I've been actually working on quantum machine learning things more on the side. But now I have also focused my uh, attention to quantum hardware, so that more to work more on the quantum machine learning and hardware sides both. And I'm also part of quantum machine learning center, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Good. Nice, Siddharth. Thank you. Sandeepan.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Sandeepan, and I'm from Chhattisgarh. I'm just a recent graduate in electrical engineering from KIIT Bhubaneswar, and I started off with my research experience in various aspects, and then I got to know about quantum computing. So I started studying subjects which are the foundations in my open electives. So I started with quantum mechanics, I started with superconductivity, and then with nanotechnology. And now I'm into this quantum computing. And the reason being that I want to go ahead with this, explore new opportunities, explore different areas with it, and have an expertise, or at least say an experience, which could help me get to the further part. And mostly I'm interested in the hardware part, the different quantum annealing systems, photonic crystals, or superconducting qubits. That's I guess what I have to say for now.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Sandeep. All right, Keshav, Akash Kumar Singh, and then Akash Sarkar. Keshav.
So hi everyone, my name is Keshav Kasliwal. I am a pre-final year student at RV College of Engineering, Bangalore. I'm pursuing my bachelor's in electronics and communication engineering. So I was, brought into quantum and the various fields of it last year. And by then I'm doing stuff more of my own. And we even have incubated a student research group at our own college. So, we're working some things on our own as well. So we are looking forward to the more part of it in quantum hardware as well. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, lovely. All right, Akash Kumar Singh.
Yeah, hello guys. I'm Akash, and I'm from physics background. I am doing my bachelor's. I'm right now in my third year, and the motive to join this learning circle was that I was little I was little confused between like theory and hardware part, like what to choose like for future, for a master thesis or something like. And I think I will able to provide, like I will to contribute to the learning circle in my own ways, and to get some knowledge from all of you.
Okay, lovely. All right, Sarkar.
Hello everyone. I am from Kolkata and I'm a student of MSc in Data Science at University of Kalyani. And quantum computing, actually, it is more powerful and efficient than modern computing, and Google proved the quantum supremacy. And I want to learn more about quantum hardware, and that's why I joined this learning circle.
Okay, nice. All right, I think everyone has introduced themselves, right? Yes, I think so. All right, so welcome, KG. We just finished the introductions.
Oh, great. Thank you.
All right, guys. So the next step is we want to talk about at least the next 3-4 days is gonna go into how we are gonna design the next 1 month. Okay, so I'll tell you basic thumb rules that we can follow. So one, we started with reading a book within quantum machine learning, and then people were like, no, let's do this, do that. So there was a lot of confusion in the first 2 weeks. Okay, so I don't want that to happen here. So as a team, our job is essentially in the next 2-3 days is to chart out our next 1 month plan. Okay, which means Monday, what's the topic, who's gonna talk about, and what's the root of that, right? So what's the skill level or something around that, okay? I think that's the ideal next step. And before that, that's the call to action, right? So next Monday onwards, when we meet, like in the next 2-3 days, we'll arrive at a overall flow. But right now, if Abir and Nilay can slowly, like what you guys had planned, if you guys can share that initially, that'll give a good starting point, right?
Yeah. So guys, like we even saw the responses which we got from you, which showed that there's a major inclination towards the superconducting thing. And like, as you are from hardware background, so you're very well aware of the fact, the importance of a real hardware working like for us. So when you're working in quantum, like some things don't come very cheap. So that's too costly. So what we can look out for is the open sources platform, which are already given to us. Like even Akash asked in the chat, like how do we get along with the labs when we don't have actually one of those? So traditionally what we'll be doing is like, we all are well aware about the open source platforms. To number them would be the Qiskit ones, like the Qiskit platform for superconducting. And then we have that followed on designing chips that's metal. Then if we see on the annealing, we have D-Waves. So, and then we have even Xanadu's photonics. So, and so something which we saw, like given most open source platform which we have, it's much more inclined towards superconducting qubits. So like, we really don't want to restrict ourselves to one of the architectures. Rather, we like to explore all the different architectures. So like overall in all, even you can get the idea, okay, which one you are actually really interested in and want to really work later on. So, but given the conditions now, like we have much more open source platforms for superconducting. So what Abir, me and Archit, we planned out was that initially we can start up like, okay, some of you might have, say out of 10, you might have 7% knowledge, 7 knowledge of basic quantum, 6, 5 or something. So initially what we'll do is like, we'll come all on an equal level. So be it that, so all are well versed with the basic quantum necessary things. And then eventually we can start our journey ahead. So the major plan which we are, if you see the high level picture of it, so what we really want, since it's a project, it's an outcome based learning, and rather not just you learning, reading out and teaching someone else and then going away with it. So that's not something which you can gain your skill much over. Like you need to if you need to sharpen your skills, you need to work on something down there. So what we are thinking, like if you guys are aware of the platform called QCTRL, Q-Control. So that is something like, if we see the classical electronics industry for say, so we have the VLSI domain coming down together, then we have embedded systems design coming down to, so we have like separate domains. So like if it's a VLSI, they only work on the chip development, like the SOCs, the validation and the verification part of the chip. And when we have down to the embedded systems, they design how the entire processors, sensors that need to be laid on the chip. So that's the platform which they do. And then overall, you have the application engineers where they implement things. So similarly for quantum, there is like, we can have different divisions are being generated right now. So you have like metal or something to design the specific chips, like you design your own qubit with different like factors coming down together. And then you have something Q-Control company coming in, which tells us about how do you actually control the entire quantum hardware. So the quantum hardware, like it'll have many noises or other things of parts. So you can actually mitigate most of those. And that is something which Q control is actually working in. Like Abhi will tell a much more in detail about what it is. So what we plan is initially we try to develop an ecosystem where we try to understand first the basics of entire quantum thing. So we all are on an equal page. Second, what we do is we start off with superconducting qubits. So like people, like there might be some people on the team who are not really much into superconducting qubits. They might like, we saw responses, people like photonics or annealers, but given the resources now, we need to play around with those. So, and if you're really interested, like you can again learn, like it's like we learn from each other. So like if people are working on superconductors qubits or something, if the other people are working on annealers or Zanado's platform photonics side by side, you guys can teach us. So what if, since we didn't explore it, we think we're not interested in it, but the scenario can be the other way around also. So we can start off with that. So what we thought was like, we'll get through the basics. Then the second week would be like, we start off learning superconducting qubits properly, like A to Z, like as much as we can understand. And then we can start implementing platforms. Like we have 2 platforms later on, then like that's Q control or like the metal thing. So initially, whatever you learn, you try to implement those, rather just not keep it to your head. So that's something you wouldn't gain skill over. So this is the brief plan, and Abhi will take on.
Yeah. Thanks, Nilay. So as mentioned by Nilay, there are basically, we can divide the whole stack into different components here. So we won't be focusing that much on software side and algorithm side. But if like there are some people here who just have a basic knowledge of things, so we would recommend that if like you go through the Qiskit textbook and everything that is there given by Qiskit, all the study material. Okay, so including the algorithms part, but focus more on the hardware side of things. Mainly, if you want to write it down, there is Qiskit Pulse, which is used for controlling different parameters for the superconducting qubits, right? So for IBM's architecture, we have Qiskit Pulse, we have Qiskit Metal. As of now, we'll keep Qiskit Metal on hold for some time, at least for this week. We'll go into some detail for the control part, how these controls happen, and basically for now we can imagine a qubit just being a block sphere, and we'll focus on the control part, which is the signals that go into the quantum processor, microwave signals, and how the pulses act, and how to shape those pulses, and what effect that pulse has on the hardware, on the superconducting qubit. All those things we thought we'll keep it for the first week. So algorithms, like the basic algorithms, for example, there is Grover's algorithm, Shor's algorithm. Those basic algorithms, just just go through them once. And for this week, let's focus on the quantum control side. So that includes Qiskit Pulse, and one more thing that Nilay mentioned about Q control. So Q control is another company which basically works with IBM, and they have their own software called Boulder Opal. The spelling is BOULDER space OPAL. So Boulder Opal is another open source software which is specifically made for these kind of things, to tune the pulse shaping parameters, to tune the pulse duration, the gate parameters, and basically each gate is just a microwave pulse. So controlling all these and how this thing works, and can we tune this to mitigate some kind of errors, or can we tune it to make better gates, faster gates for quantum hardware? All these things will come under the first part. Then after that, we can go a bit more deeper into how the qubit structure is. So for the first part, I told we can just assume the qubit to be just a simple block sphere and focus more on the control part, where the block vector goes when you apply some kind of pulse, etc. The second part would be to dissect this block sphere into actual hardware, what is going on inside the hardware and the Hamiltonian mechanics, the quantum wells that it forms in order to separate the quantum levels. There are different levels in the harmonic oscillator, anharmonic oscillator, and we'll study all those things together. And yeah, so this whole thing is a 2-week journey, I would say. Yeah. Yeah, Nilay, you want to add something?
No, it's full complete. It's like 2-week journey. This is a 2-week plan, which we thought.
Yeah, this doesn't mean that we have to be pros in quantum hardware within these 2 weeks. This basically means that we should be at some certain level to understand, like we should be at the same frequency, right? Otherwise the coupling between the qubits won't work. So,
you got the analogy.
Yeah. Quantum hardware puns. Yeah. So like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like as Avi told, like initial target for this coming week would be focusing much more like on the Qiskit textbook, that is primarily the 6th and the 7th section, which focuses more on the quantum hardware. They'll be like investigating something titled with quantum hardware. So those are the 2 sections which you need to focus much more on, understand them, and it's better you try to implement, because you just have widgets. You just need to put control and enter, shift and enter. Yeah. And the things will keep on running. So the first task would be to understand those. And the reason we are telling is that superconducting qubits, they only talk with the pulses. So how good we are with the pulses, that you can ease out your journey later on. Otherwise, the journey might be a tough, because like hardware is very like compared to software, you need much more of theoretical knowledge in hardware to implement something.
And one more thing I would like to add here is quantum hardware needs some knowledge of classical hardware as well, because it is not completely quantum. We are using classical systems to control quantum system. So yeah, we'll start with the classical thing first, which is the pulse level control. Then we'll dive deeper into the quantum part, which is the actual qubit design and Qiskit metal, etc.
Yeah, like so like the common path journey which we all took, and like we, even our friends, people who we know, they started with, like I guess that's is like something very cool, good enough journey, because it gives us something productive at the end. So like focusing first week on the Qiskit textbook, try completing it. Like it's benefit for you, because the more you learn, that more skill you sharpen. Then the second week, like you can, if you get time, you can read out, like we'll put out the resources on the medium of communication which we need to do. Like first would be like finishing off the Qiskit textbook, because so that lays down, like even if you have learned something, you can just get it dusted and it's all freshened up. So focusing on the hardware, 6th and 7th section. And if you get time, go to the Q control documentation, because that can give you a general picture of what the control nature we are trying to talk about. Then the second week would be like finishing off like QGS's Zlatko-Minov's videos on superconducting qubits, because there are not many of them. They are just 4 to 6, if I don't remember the number clearly. So try completing those and try to make a note of all those things, like how much ever you learn. So eventually later on, when you try to forget something, you can catch back, have a look in your own words, and you can remember it back. So this is the 2 weeks. And then, to be honest, these 2 weeks are like the strongest pillar foundation which you can lay. So the more confident you work in these 2 weeks will make you a better hardware person later on, because these are the basis, like the computational basis actually. So this thing would result later on. So try to work. I know things get harder with hardware, but we all are here to learn. So text anytime, people will reply anytime. Yeah. As early as
And
the earliest. So
yeah, I would just like to add one more thing that Nilayam is saying. So Q Control also has really, really good videos on their YouTube channel. So if you want, you can refer to them as well. It covers more of researchy stuff than basics, but yeah, if you're interested, you can watch that as well. And
yeah, like,
as Nilay
meanwhile,
said,
like,
we are all here.
even we are not,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
we are not
so-
pros. Like we just started our journey a bit earlier. That's all, nothing else. It's all
Hello?
are on equal level. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to suggest something which I've been doing for quite a few days. It's a course on edX, and it's about quantum hardware only. And I was going through it. Like, I mean, I'm attending all the classes and lectures, and I found it really helpful, and it was really good. I mean, it's more on the hardware side. Okay. I mean, it includes multiple topics, which is like spin qubits, superconducting hardware, topological hardware. I mean, all the things which we could, think in the quantum hardware systems. Like the topics are NV center qubits, superconducting qubits, topological qubits, and wrapping up the quantum hardware. The thing is. So I have this suggestion for you all. We can follow this thing as well. Like if you know everyone agrees upon this.
Yeah, like that course is good actually. Like I had completed it. So
Yeah,
like
same.
it's good for the basic purpose, like knowledge of quantum hardware, if you want to get a feel what actually it is and the different domains. And like that, it gives like the broad background picture of the entire quantum hardware. But like at the end, the story is like you need to have some outcome at the end of a process. Then you can call it a process. Otherwise, it's a loop. Like there isn't. Yeah, so that's something which we need to focus on. Like apart from learning, that learning should be productive in like, and that should be in any case like having, yeah, that's something which we try to aim for. So like what's it that tool, it's cool. Like we can have those in the, like for the introductions, like if you're really very new to quantum hardware but you are interested, you can go through it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the course by Delft X, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, same
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Introduction
Yeah.
to quantum hardware.
I agree with
yes.
Nilav. I mean, definitely. What I noticed was too much information is there too. So try to be focused on the studies. If you have 1 week or 2 weeks restriction, or we want to focus on some stuff too. Otherwise, definitely plenty of material available. Yeah. So your point is, yeah, getting into the quiz kit and the reading the textbook. Specific chapter also Nilo pointed, like chapter 6 and 7. So that, I mean, based on the time too, another thing. So how much time you have to. So based on extra stuff, definitely helpful to understand. But as a team, we can definitely discuss it and also notify in the communication channels and get clarification on and off. Also meeting anyway. We are going to meet anyway, right? Every weekly, couple of times. Definitely, I feel like that will help also to proceed in the right direction. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I think keeping the communication channels active is really, really important here. So yeah, don't hesitate to put messages on the group if you have questions.
Yeah, like anytime, 24/7.
Yeah,
some of
it
us will
is-
be awake that time.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is made for discussion. So just feel free.
Well, regarding this, the first week curriculum, or let's say the learning part, I wanted to ask one thing. So since this is about the learning, the quantum error correction. So like, are we going with the complete theory of quantum error correction and then the NISQ algorithms, or let's say or are we just going to start with the particular basics, like starting with and then we going down to the niche topics? Is it going to be that way or the other way around?
So definitely quantum error correction is something which is not a part of the raw hardware, but it is essential for making advanced quantum hardware. So I think right now, I think Nilay would also agree that right now, just knowing the basics, how quantum error correction works, what are stabilizer codes, these just the basics, and how these stabilizers affect the quantum states, and how to read them out, and all those things. These basics are something which will actually help you to like understand the hardware in a much deeper level, is like at least what I felt, because unless you think from that perspective that this hardware can undergo some error, and if like how can we correct it, or how can we detect it, it's kind of like incomplete, I would say. So maybe Nilay can pitch in some points here.
Yeah, that's actually correct what Abhi told. Like initially, like you might feel like it's very obvious that even we felt at some point of time, like being hardware, why do I have to study about super dense coding, error correction, which is not really a hardware thingy. So, but at the end, what happens is like whenever you're trying to work on a particular project, or initially you're trying to like be a small project, like we don't really have to create our own transmon qubit or different one, then do like tinkering a lot on it, like be it a small step. So when doing a small step also, you might require some point of time. Okay, watch this. I really didn't study much of it. It's like, again, then you have to go back again, read that topic, again, come back. So that's like the additional loop which you have made because you didn't have it really initially cleared it out. So it would be good if like understand it, but if you really don't get the entire gist of it, that works because that's not the real aim. But having a feel of everything is really very important when you're working on a particular thing or sharpening it. Yeah. Any questions or suggestions from people?
I just had a small clarification. So even the global summer school content is, some of the content is based upon the quantum hardware part itself. So could we refer upon that as well, or should we leave it as now?
Yeah, that's the second big plan which we told. Like,
oh, sorry. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Like when you go for the second, the Zlatko's video, like you might miss on the quantum error correction videos which James Bouton gave. Like that's not really necessary, but the Zlatko's Minif superconducting qubit series is like really, really helpful because it would bounce off because it bounced for us also. Like being honest, like you wouldn't learn the entire superconducting qubits within 3 hours, like and 3 hours each day. So it did bounce us back, but we again bounced back onto it to understand it. So that's the difference, people. Yeah. So you should, like something bounces you back, you should after some amount of time, you learn your basics, again bounce on that thing back because then Newton laws doesn't work. So you get that thing. So it's good. Like if you really didn't understand Zlatko's video for the very first time, it means you are on a right track. Yeah, that's very true, because the more you try to understand on a fundamental level, the more confused you will be, because that's like pretty high level. So if you think you have understood it, that means you haven't really given a deeper thought of it. So it's good you didn't understand it the very first time. So it's really appreciated.
If you think you understand quantum mechanics, then you don't understand quantum mechanics.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
And this is a quote by a Nobel Prize laureate, so we can.
Yeah, I think everyone knows. And we should ban these kind of jokes again and again inside. Should have like a banned jokes board. And then like put everything inside that.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, any questions with respect to what Nilay and Abir had explained till now? If not, we'll quickly decide on a timing when we'll all be meeting. Okay, and Nilay and Abir will share a spreadsheet that will have like the next 2 weeks titles as well. And if we can decide on the time now, it's better to have this daily meetings than this collective responsibility that comes in. Okay, what time works for everyone? 8:30 p.m., 9:30 p.m.
I'm fine when 9:30.
9:30.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sam, can we have a poll? Like just a small like.
Okay. Well, that we can do on Discord.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do one thing. 8:30 is one, 9:30 is one. People who say 8:30 put 1 in the chat. Guys, chat quick. Or any other thing also. Anytime. Okay, great. Anytime. Okay, so mostly 9:30.
Yeah, I think it was fine. So you guys decide to. One thing, Sam, I want to tell is my time will be 8:30 means it's 9:30, 10:30, 11. Yeah, 11 a.m. Right? It's a p.m. So only thing is I may not sometimes. Yeah, sometimes when I have a meetings. So what will happen is I can definitely calling in. I won't miss it probably, but there is a possibility of missing some sessions. That's fine. I'll let you know upfront. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. So 9:30 p.m. 2 p.m. IST. Okay. I don't think that works for Bhuvi and most of them.
I don't know. I was on a call or something, so I just missed out what you guys all said.
Oh no. We were talking. It's either 8:30 p.m. or 9:30 p.m.
Okay. 9:30. I mean that my
9:30
time
is
with.
good.
So yeah, it's almost 9:30. Everyone has said.
Okay.
You have to think about QML also happens at the same time, no?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But I think your QML team is like all owls, like people who wake up late into night. So you can move that around 10:30.
Oh, okay. I'll talk to all of them. That could happen.
Yeah. Cool. So next step is sheet will be shared by Nilay and Abir, and the timing we have decided, and the rest of the process will let you guys know in the group as when we arrive at that. Okay. Great. Any other things we missed talking, Nilay, Abir? All right.
Nothing from us. Yeah.
Okay, great. Cool. Lovely. See you guys on Monday, 9:30 p.m.
Yep.
And we'll share the spreadsheet before that.
Awesome.
Okay. Cool. Lovely.
Yeah, thank
nice
you.
to meet you all.
You all.
Thank you, guys.
Excited to
Thank
see
you,
what
everyone.
comes out of this.
Thank you.